99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM.
All right, when you hear that, you know Nortey's in the seat. Sunday afternoon's about to be complete. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. We're back after the elections. Some folks are telling me the election outcome ain't normal. It was kind of lomo. But we're still one nation, one Ghana. So since the election was not that normal for some, let me hit you with Lomo by Key and Black Sheriff. I'll be back in a moment. Stick and stay.
Joy 99.7 Joy 99.7 FM.
I offer you nothing else.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Then I go hold you well, and I will do anything that you wish. Me share my boss, so don't pay me for it. No years that you hold up. Somebody else come take you for it. They do me
Joy 99.7
It'll be
FM.
normal.
no one to know. Please don't give me shit.
Oh, I love Ghana.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Pick you up in the foreign. Bring it on what is on your mind. Yeah, baby, and it is a bunny and kind, babe. And now that you promised to show and tell me no time or soon when I'm right here. You and I together, so we go together. See me pose no abiana, we pose here fly. Me say nah.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Dying with you, tell them forever.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Diamond rings in your body, darling. Come find me.
Don't find me on 99.7 FM.
Joy 99.7 FM.
My baby, I just want to call your number. I find my person who will take my pain away. What I give up for love. I don't want to be so jealous. If you leave me, baby,
That's right.
Oh, girl, I want you for it.
I hope all of you arguing about elections actually voted. Very, very important. Today I come back to the topic of disability. 2 weeks ago we started this on the heels of the International Day of Persons with Disability. We talked about achievements, opportunities, inclusion, what that means. And these are things we should be talking about when we are, dealing with manifestos, policies, and all that. Some of you just look at party colors, affiliation. These are very, very serious things. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. Yeah, we started this last week. Dr. Inda is here. My mighty Princess Mensa is here. And I hope you have not been distracted by the elections. Oh, Ziggy has loaded not the instrumental. Anyway, we're back looking at disability on the heels of World Disability Day. 2 weeks ago, most of you were very, very keen and interested in this topic. We had lots of calls, lots of questions. We've been looking at the concept of disability, starting from or looking at its antecedents and originating from a viewpoint of human rights. Each of us have human rights, whether we are challenged by any of the multiple forms of disability. We have a right to access all the benefits of life and living. And we, should I say, constructed and configured our understanding of disability to mean any physical and other disability that interacts with your environment, your society, and maybe even social beliefs and practices and so on and so forth, right? And could in some way disadvantage you. I have Dr. Peter Nda here and Princess Doc. And Princess, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
I can't hear. Yeah. Doc and Princess, can you hear? Yeah, I couldn't hear you earlier.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can hear you loud and clear.
Great.
Right. How are you feeling after the elections?
Princess, go first.
Princess, how are you feeling? Did you vote?
Yes.
Oh, we can't hear you today. Ziggy, can you do something about the positioning of her mic and then boost her mic a bit? Yeah. How did you vote, Princess?
Yes, please.
You did. Okay, I'm still getting some echo, and I'm not going to ask you who you voted for, but how was it for you voting with your visual challenge? Was there anything at the voting or polling station that made it easier and better for you?
Yes. Where I voted, I had a tactile jacket.
All right. Let me just come to Doc and come back to you. I want Ziggy to enhance your mic a bit. Doc, so these are some of the issues, right?
That's
so
right.
we've just gone through a general election.
That's right.
Right? And persons with disability form about 8% or upward of our population. That's a little about 2.1 plus million people.
Great.
If we look at the numbers of the election just run, right, that's a significant constitution.
It is.
A significant component figure of the population.
Yeah.
But I'm just asking Princess, and I'm hoping her mic will be enhanced shortly.
Yeah.
But I'm asking her how it was. These are issues of concern. What kind of things have we done with regard to access for persons with disability when it comes to voting and exercising their right to vote?
Yeah, I think this is a very important part of our lives as people in a community or in a country. Yes, to be able to vote is the right, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think I remember the last time we were here. That was a week before the voting.
Yep.
I told you we had a meeting that's with the federation.
Right.
We were
on the Monday after our program.
Before our program.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So I made mention of this. We were at the EC's office and to discuss some of these things. And I think I laid out a lot of things that they've put in place.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good also to know that people from the federation, members have gone round to check how accessible these places were, because even with we were trying to let people vote independently,
Okay.
and also without any hassle.
Let me just bring in my listeners, and making some technical adjustments. When you say persons with disability having the opportunity and the ability to vote independently. For example, if I have movement challenges, somebody has to help me move comfortably to the polling points, right? If I have visual impairment, I may need some assistance. So we're trying to put in place measures that make sure that to the best, to the highest degree, their independence in voting is not compromised by these accommodations or adjustments that we make.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
So, and some of these things, like you've just mentioned, they could go in with their assistants.
Okay.
And depending on the level of disability, they were left on their own to actually do their voting themselves.
Okay.
And I remember we talked about even making this thing very known to everyone. So they talk about
so that these persons who are assisting them are not challenged at the polling stations as influencers or anything like that.
No, not at all.
Right, good.
And it's good we have Princess here, and she went to vote, and she just mentioned of this tactile jacket,
right?
You know, for persons with a visual disability, the blind.
Let me just bring my listeners up to speed. If you've just joined us, this is Ultimate Health on Joy. The elections notwithstanding, the results notwithstanding, we are continuing with our determination to break down these issues of disability, inclusion, and so many other things. Okay, you just heard speaking Dr. Peter Inda. He is with the University of Ghana, and he does head the Department on Occupational Health and Therapy.
Occupational therapy.
Right, and then your other jacket is?
Yes, and the other is acting director for the Center for Disability Studies and Advocacy.
Okay.
This is a new center.
Right, so that's why he's with us. Next to him is my princess, our princess, right? Princess Mensah is a recent graduate of the UG course. She did a course in Education in Leadership and Social Work. She's the immediate past president of the Campus Association of Students with Special Needs. She's working. She's been school prefect. She's had to stop regular mainstream schooling or education to switch and attend the Ekropong, and I believe it's still called that, pardon me, School for the Blind, where she quickly galloped, caught up and overtook some of her mates or her peers, proceeded to Okwapiman, and then from there went to the University of Ghana. Princess, I'm just recapping your story as quickly as I can. But you voted last Saturday, on the 7th.
Yes, please.
How did it go? And then explain this tactile jacket that facilitates your voting.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I would like to say a warm afternoon to our cherished listeners. Yes, I had the opportunity. I wouldn't say opportunity because it's actually my right.
It's a right.
Yes, so I exercised my right, my civic responsibility by taking part in a decision that is going to affect my future, at least for the next 4 years. Yes, so I also had the opportunity to be an observer, and I was accredited and approved by Electoral Commission. And
hang on. Now, Princess, I almost said Prisla, right? Shared her visual impairment with us last week, right? But her voting rights were upheld. She took part in the vote. She's explaining and sharing that with us, right? And we'll use that as a contextual reference point when we start looking at policy and laws and things that we are doing to, should I say, facilitate and promote inclusion, right? It's very important. But not only that, she is now sharing with us that she took part as an observer. The reason I stopped her to emphasize that is because, you know, when we say you are an observer, we expect that you will observe and you will see. So this is not another should I say, regular feet, right? And I want her to break it down and explain to you, my listeners, before we even expand on policies and laws that Ghana has signed up to enhance some of these things. So continue, Princess.
Yes, so I will take it in parts. So with the voting, I had my assistant led me to the polling station, and I was allowed to go and then use the tactile jacket. The tactile jacket looks like a pamphlet, or let's say a booklet that you open, but then it has slots. It has slots for the various candidates that you would want to vote. So you know that the first hole is for 1, the second hole 2, in that order, and how to vote. So you just put the ballot paper inside, and it has been designed in a way that the ballot paper fits in. So you go through training.
Hang on, that would be a very long jacket, especially for presidential.
Yes,
the presidential ballot was so long. Indeed, just handling the ballot paper alone gives an indication of where you're going.
Exactly.
Right, but you had to do the same thing using this tactile jacket. Now, folks, listeners, tactile refers to touch. Okay, so your sense of touch. So now she's using her sense of touch to vote, right? And this jacket allows her to do that. Go ahead, Princess.
Yes, so you select the candidate of your choice, and then you vote by thumbprinting for your candidate.
Okay, right.
Yes, so that's it. And then with the observation, we were taken through training, and you go as a person with visual impairment or any form of disability. You go with your assistant, yes, and you are given criteria to follow to observe. Someone may be wondering how. So as I got to the polling station, I asked my questions. I went to the presiding officer. I asked questions I think is pertinent to disability, freedom, and yes. So I asked her, do they have the tactile jacket? She said yes. I took it, I observed it myself. I checked whether the place is accessible for wheelchair users. I checked whether they have sign language interpreters in case anyone with hearing impairment is also there to vote, and all those things, and sat there for some time for a while to see if someone with disability aside me will also be there, and how is the treatment like. So I did this in support with my assistant, whom I was assigned to by the Ghana Federation. And yes, so let me clarify. You would send your assistant, and then your assistant will be approved to assist you as an observer.
Great.
So after that, you write a report and send it to the Ghana Federation of Disability Organization.
20 minutes past the hour of 2. If you just joined us, this is Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Nortey by nature. We're continuing our discussion on disability, inclusion, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, some of the policies we've signed up to, some of the conventions that we've signed up to, knowing that all the things we have access to, every human being, every living human being has a right to access those things. You just heard Princess. She's now so how would I describe your visual impairment in the right language and terminology? Some are partially impaired, right? But you say now your impairment is almost full, or it's full.
Yeah, so you would say I'm totally impaired.
Totally visually impaired.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So as she sits with us in the studio, as she negotiated her way into the studio, Princess can also do an assessment of Joy 99.7 FM, assessment of how easy it was for her to enter our studios and so on and so forth. These are real issues, okay? We need to bring them up. Whether the stairs were disability friendly and so on and so forth. Okay, of course, she came with somebody. Today we haven't mentioned, in quotes, our fiance, but is he with you today? All right, but so she gets a sense anytime she goes anywhere in this beloved country of ours, how friendly the environment is. And what we've constructed from the last 2 weeks is that your impairment, or in quotes disability, interacts with all these facets of the environment, of the society, and so on and so, rules, regulations, policies, right? And we are interested in how that impacts you. So her sharing her voting experience and her participation, active participation in the electoral process, is a key reference point that we can all use when we get to send our WhatsApp and we call in. All right, so you did all that on the 7th. Where did you vote?
At Domi Kwabenya.
Domi Kwabenya.
Yes.
There was a lot of wahala there.
Yes.
And you were sitting in the middle of the wahala. The voting itself seemed to have gone well.
Yes.
That process was cool.
Yeah.
The wahala was after voting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So when things got a bit, had you left when things got a bit?
Yes, please. I left around 6.
Okay.
At that time, they haven't sent the ballot papers to the collation center yet.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Okay. If you have any questions, concerns, WhatsApp is 055 1111 997. We're live on X. I will no longer slang and say Twitter, right? X. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Any questions you want to put in? We're looking at disability, understanding it. If you have any questions with that, we're looking at policies. Indeed, I monitored a TV report by, I think, Portia. She's now Gabo. She used to be Solomon. I think that's TV3. But she spoke to students with disability on the, I think, University of Ghana campus. It was quite an extensive interview with about 6 or 7 of them. Right, and that is an interesting thing. So if you have any questions, concerns, WhatsApp is 055 1111 997. Shortly I will activate the phone lines. We're live Facebook, YouTube, and X. This is Joy 99.7 FM. I'll activate the phone lines if you do want to ask questions. 030 221 6541 030 221 6541. WhatsApp is 055 1111 997.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Okay, Doc, coming back to you, right? So we've been able to, let's say, leverage or harness the elections, just to give an example, right, of the kind of issues involved. If 2.1 plus million Ghanaians have a challenge or a difficulty, or indeed could not have or did not vote because we haven't done things right according to their rights and the laws and policies, then that's a big should I say disadvantage, and what's the word, disenfranchisement, right?
That's right.
Yeah. What do you have to do you have a tally of how many of persons under or covered by the federation are able to cast their votes?
I wouldn't have figures now, but I think with working with the federation, I think that led to putting some of these things right. So that, like you use the word, so that you don't disenfranchise any person to exercise. I'm using your words, civil right. Is that what, Princess? Yes. So I can give figures, but what we have just discussed is very interesting. Listening to what Princess just said and the comments you made, it gives us a way, it gives us an understanding of what disability really is.
Right.
You know, and we're talking about the constructs. I mean, disability, from what Princess have been able to do, I would say it's something like an interaction with your environment.
Exactly so.
That is it. It is, I would say, disability is actually not the person, but what have we put in place make, people like Princess also exercise their, what do you call it?
Rights.
Their civil rights.
And to actually have the opportunity to develop optimally.
That's right.
And achieve their God-given whatever.
That is it.
Yeah.
And that sends me back to explain what disability actually
Okay.
is. And to me, it's like it is something that lives with us. You know, it lives with us because you've mentioned figures about a whole lot, 2.8, almost that million of our population.
Exactly.
If such huge numbers are disabled, how are we actually helping them to really be very inclusive
Right.
in this hour,
To reach their full potential
to reach
and
their full-
contribute to their society, their community,
That is
their
right.
families.
That is
Let's not
right.
forget Priscilla is working.
Yes.
And when the more I talk to her, the more I realize she's doing several things. But irrespective or despite her, in quotes, disability, she is an active member and an active citizen.
Yeah.
So can we consider, right, the number of people with some form of disability who we have prevented
Right.
from contributing, right, to society, to development and national growth as a result of our ignorance or our discrimination or stigmatization.
That's right.
And let me also remind listeners that patients in mental health facilities, patients with certain other disabilities have been given the right to also vote, right, by certain actions and policies that we as a country have, should I say, undertaken.
Yeah.
Okay. Indeed, I listened to a nurse just the day before voting saying that there are lots of people who are on admission in hospitals who wished they could have a vehicle and a means to vote. Okay. So if you're on admission on voting day, Charlie, we lost you, right? Depending on what is in place and whether you can leave hospital and go and vote and come back
Yes.
to the ward, right? These are serious issues we are talking about. It also brings out the point that really the degree of impairment caused or related to your disability changes, and your experience changes depending on where you are.
That's right.
If you are disabled in Accra, it might be different from if you are disabled in Gomoa somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Or in Edinburgh.
That's right.
Okay. Yes.
I
If
like
you-
the comparison.
Yes, yes, yes.
Goa and Edinburgh.
Yes. What I'm saying is that depending on what has been done to level the playing field for every living human being, you may not even experience the impairment we are talking about.
That's right.
to its full extent. I mentioned last week, I remember I interviewed Paul Anumakodie. He's a newsreader. He was then with ETV. I mentioned, I couldn't remember his name last 2 weeks. Komla Kluche, he has been following President-elect Mahama, reporting for TV3. But I know him as somebody who has a significant speech or stutter challenge, right? But he's been, should I say, enabled. His teams work with him, cameramen, news crew, this, that, and he is flying. Okay, so depending on where you find yourself and what has been put in place or not put in place, then you can have a totally different lived experience of the same disability we talk about.
Very right.
Right.
Very right.
Okay, let me read a couple of messages. This was a good job, or good afternoon, Nortey. This is my name is Nortey, right, by nature. Thanks. I'm happy that Princess gave a detailed explanation of the election observation. Great job, Princess. I also saw a visually impaired election observer on Legon campus, and I was also curious. So he's happy that we've explained this, because most people would not understand and think that maybe this is too much, they should stay at home. This one says, good afternoon, Nortey and your guest. I read an article related to epilepsy last week that said epilepsy is a disability. Is it the same in Ghana or in the developed world? Okay, it's a neurological disorder. We've done a lot of that this year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, some of the challenges can operate and indeed be a form of disability. And Doc actually expanded the definition last week, and they did in Maryland said, "Oh, that means, Charlie, the definition is so broad, and any one of us can be disabled at any point in our life." Doc, any comment on this?
Yeah, I mean, like we said, anything that actually it's preventing you from really carrying out what you really want to do, your activities of daily living, whatever it is. If it is, I mean, interrupting or probably making it difficult for for you to perform those activities consistently, then it becomes a form of disability. And that is why some conditions, even if you have diabetes, if you have all those, can also be classified under, should I say, another form, that's a medical disability, because it's preventing you from actually doing probably what you want.
Great
to
stuff.
do.
Okay, and folks, Dr. Peter Nda is an occupational therapist and head of the Department of Occupational Therapy at the University of Ghana. He's also the acting director for the Center for Disability Studies and Advocacy, CEDSA, all the same university.
That's
right. So, Charlie, he's the right person to have. Okay, and let's start understanding also that when we define disability, we're also talking about access and, should I say, your ability to participate.
That's right.
So if epilepsy, right, is functioning as an impairment, a hindrance, a barrier, right, whether by the nature or the cause of the neurological impairment or societal discrimination and many other things, then it does indeed become a disability. Let's start understanding that. Of course, there are people who have disabilities, and because there's so much support and, should I say, a conducive environment, right, deliberately created to enhance their participation,
yes.
It doesn't work, or it is not experienced as such. And that is what inclusion means. I'll come back to get my guests to, should I say, explain inclusion when we say that. All right, Princess, were you going to say? I thought you had something you wanted to add. Oh,
I think I wish one day we would also talk about terminologies.
Yes.
And yes, because you keep on saying disabled, but we don't use disabled.
I said disability.
I think you were like being disabled in Accra is different from maybe being disabled.
Living with disability, right? Anyway, I get your point anyway.
Yeah. So I just wanted to draw your attention to it.
Right. I've been focusing on disability, its definition, and enhancing and emphasizing the relationship, the interaction, like Doc said.
Yeah.
Okay, that was where the Edinburgh and all those things came in. Okay. So terminology is important, and we're getting into some of these things because they are important and they impact on our nation and the lives of persons in and citizens in our dear nation, Ghana. Let me activate the phone line 0302 216541. 0302 216541. WhatsApp is 055 1111 997. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. Please, I have a comment on disability and use of washrooms. Okay, since you're on WhatsApp, share it, type it. I will read it out. Okay. Somebody says they have a comment on disability and use of and maybe even access to washrooms. Right. Yeah. Sometimes you enter a washroom, you can see there are, should I say, support rails,
yes,
or bars on the side to help you to sit. There's actually, in many places, a designated toilet for the disabled, which should be equipped with those things. Princess, you can comment on this whilst this person is typing. He's talking about disability and use of washrooms.
I think I went to one hotel and I saw these rails just right on either side of the water closet, and I was impressed. Initially I didn't understand because I seem not to need it, but later I realized that it helps those with mobility challenge.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think it's in fact, disability accessibility matters everywhere. Everywhere, at the hospital, everywhere.
Exactly.
Even at the washrooms, like he's saying. Yes.
Okay, great stuff. Many of you might notice reserved parking spaces, right? There are cars and vehicles that are, should I say, designed in a way to, should I say, moderate or mitigate the challenges that many persons with some forms of disability have. And they are even assessed and licensed differently. In fact, a couple of years back, I handled a young man, a Ghanaian man in the US, who suffered a stroke. And therefore, his, should I say, handicap, post-stroke handicap, challenged him. And when he went back, he came to Ghana for a bit, got some therapy and other things here. But when he went back, he had to be fully assessed and licensed, and some changes made to his vehicle.
That's right.
For him to remain mobile, right?
Yeah.
And the vehicle was reconfigured. And he sent me a message, Nortey, I got my license, I can drive.
Great.
And so this is somebody who was okay, but post-stroke, yes, he had
Okay.
some physical challenges.
That's right.
And mobility challenges as well. So these are things we should be thinking and talking about. The gentleman says, or the person who was typing says, I have an 11-year-old special needs son who needs help when using washrooms. I am a widow, so I am a female who assists him. He isn't welcome in the women's washroom, and I am not welcome in the male washroom. It's always a challenge when we are in public places where we have to fight to get to use washrooms or use out or perhaps attend to nature's call outside, which is not welcome everywhere either. So this is the complexity of the challenge.
Yes, this is true. It's very complex with the washroom thing. But let me go back to the your parking space before I come to the with the parking space. I think it's hard time we start recognizing some of these things. Like you said, this person probably is using an adapted car, and maybe uses wheelchair and things. So the parking space should always be different from the
and closer.
Yes, closer
to entrances and all that.
Different in the sense that we have extra space, you know, to maneuver your wheelchair out from the car and things. Because I mean, that is something that if you're not in a wheelchair, you wouldn't need that space anyway. So that is why it is very important to have that, and it should be marked with the sign,
marked,
you know,
and protected,
yes,
as
and
a designated
That's
space.
right, designated space for the right person to use it. And this washroom thing, I think that is why we need a special designated or this washroom that is also marked for, you know, anyone who, like the mom and a big you know, boy, that place is more or less could be used by both males and females. And it is not like labeling this male and female, and the mother with a big boy trying to either go to the female.
He's 11 now.
He's 11, and he's growing. Yes.
You see,
so
anytime I do stuff with special needs, challenges, especially when you're dealing with childhood disorders and developmental disorders, people forget that they grow. You see, people forget that if you have Down syndrome, we have adults 60, 50, 49, married with or without children, who are living with disability. So when we are crafting and curating these policies and interventions, we must have a broad scope in mind, not just for schools and little children, but they will grow. Princess started, and she should I say had to stop and switch track.
That's right.
Right, to a specialized institution in Ekropong. Okay, and we have in the GES, it's one of my main pet fights in the past, right? Because the GES has a special, or what is it called now? They have a department. But special needs department, but they are supposed to conduct the assessments, and any child within the spectrum of the public system who has any needs is supposed to be picked up and assisted.
That's right.
Right?
And properly placed.
Yes. Okay. They used to have an office near the Achimota Golf Course.
It's still there.
Yeah. Why have I forgotten the name now?
It's still the assessment center.
Assessment center.
Yeah.
Right? So we have structures we don't activate.
That's right.
They are so under-resourced. Do you see? That's and they should be working in tandem with other structures. So, for example, as a psychologist, I may need some information from them. I may need to collaborate with them. But sometimes the bridging and the pathways and the interdependencies are not well thought out.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
So it's important that we know that these are very important issues. Hayford in Bator said, please, how are you and your invited guests? I thank God Almighty that there is a day to remember we, the disabled persons. I am also one of them, but mine is right hand fold. Okay, I didn't get that part. Okay, Hayford. But yes, we have to discuss these things. That's why I brought Doc and Princess back. Okay, so yes, Princess.
Yes, I would like to take this moment to say that I have sat down to analyze and see that the world itself or creation was established without us in mind. That is the honest truth. This world was designed without us in mind, and that doesn't make me feel that the creator didn't have us in mind. But then I feel that the creator wants us to be co-creators. I would also like to debunk that most people think we are a problem to the world, but the truth is that persons with disabilities are real solutions to this world's problem, because it is we who will make this world okay and accessible or comfortable for everybody to live. So let's assume I come here and there are only staircase. After all, everyone can climb. Let's say I'm a person with mobility challenge, and initially, before me not being present here, you think everything was all right in this office because everybody can climb the staircase. The moment I appear here, I bring to your notice that, look, there's someone like me who can't walk. So, you know what, let's bring elevators. Let's find means that I can also equally and independently come without bothering anyone. And I think this comes to solve a problem. So that is why I say that I see persons with disability as co-creators, of the world.
Right, well said. Though I will disagree with you when you say the creator did not have persons or impairment and so on and so forth in mind. Indeed, it's not for today.
Yeah, but I think I didn't say that though.
Hang on, you did. And then you said that's why you became co-creators. Right?
Yes, I said that the world was designed without us in mind.
Nope. And there's a designer, an ultimate designer of the world. Right? So I've taken you upstairs. Okay? If you want to take on man-made challenges, yes. But I can give you 1,001 Bible quotations and we will fight. Okay?
Then I think it will be another time, surely.
Okay, so, let's understand that. But exactly your point is that whilst we consider certain things advancements and developments, we should think about everybody.
That's right.
Do you see? Indeed, there was, when I graduated in Legon, there was a guy I think he was in Commonwealth Hall, Balance. We used to call him Alaji Balance because of his gait and his disability, right? And when you see Balance's handwriting, okay, and even when there were jams and things on campus, Balance is also there, right? And I remember one event at Legon Hall where the person checking the tickets at the entrance was sitting on a table and he had his hand, and then you have to give him your ticket. And Balance was in front. He said, "You've got to learn to look elsewhere." Because his hands were deformed. Right? And he was holding his ticket and he was entering the function. Right? And on graduation, the funds he got, walking up to collect his degree and the handshake. Anybody who was in Legon in the mid to late 80s, please, if you know balance, look, I share everything Princess is saying, and we're trying to open people's minds, inform and transform. Okay, so it's important to get the context right. Can we quickly talk about inclusion, right? Because essentially it boils down to, okay, we can classify, we can label types of disability, right? And their interaction with the environment we create as men, okay? But when we say inclusion, what exactly are we saying, right? So that listeners understand, right? Is it that so when you see somebody with some challenge begging at the roadside, is it inclusion? Let's get it clear. What do we mean by inclusion, so that people can appreciate the policies and the advocacy and all that? I have a caller on the line. Let me quickly take the call and then we come back to that. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Who am I speaking to? Right, Oti, share with us quickly.
Forgive me. This is a bit of my both sides. Now, my question is, the government, I think the government bought a solution. If you have some places, if you are going to officers, the way they should do the certificate for them, they should do it smoothly. And the staff, do you have like agent or something who is policing so that this thing has been done?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think because somebody is supposed to have something.
Yeah, I get your point. Okay, I got your point. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't have like agent to look that this thing much.
Yes, Oti.
They have done it.
Oti, I've got your point. All right. Oti is saying that there are laws and there are other things. Is there anybody who is policing the enforcement of these laws? Like, okay, you're not supposed to park here, this is reserved for this kind of access. So for example, we talked about access to the studio, right? When you are building, there are certain things that are should I say required, and so on and so forth, okay, according to the laws and the conventions we've passed. So Oti essentially is asking, so who is checking all this? Who's making sure that your toilets in this X hotel or in this university, your bathrooms or bathhouses in Mensa Saba Hall or Conti or whatever, Katanga, conform to these things?
Yes, I think what Oti is saying is very right, and that is why we come here day in, day out, advocating for some of these things. The laws are there. I mean, they're brilliantly, and I can give you a very typical example of physical accessibility.
Right.
We were supposed to have all our, should I say, access to buildings, public buildings. We're supposed to have them all accessible by now. I think that was as far back as 2010.
And we've signed up to many conventions.
Yes, and it is not done. Talk about employment. We've made some nice legislation that they should employ people with disability.
Right.
Is it being done?
Okay.
And there
was a quota, wasn't there?
Yes, there was a quota. That's I think 10% and even this this disability common fund that is supposed to go to through the district and listen, they are all there, and we're looking at, are these being enforced?
Okay.
Who, like the same question Oti is asking, and that is why we are here, and we think some of these things have to be looked into and get people at appropriate places in positions to ensure some of these things are really policed.
Okay. Is it that, Princess and Doc, is it that your voice is not being heard? Is it that we are not amplifying enough? Or is it just that when we come to make budgetary allocations and appropriations, then we leave out these things and we think we can do them later? Is it that you are not being heard? We have a whole center for disability studies and advocacy now. Okay, a lot of this advocacy has been going on for years. So where is the disconnection, Princess? Is it that you're not being heard?
I personally think that at times it's considered that we are minority, and it's not very necessary now. That's what sometimes they feel.
Okay.
It will be too stressful. Let me give an example. There's a policy that states that if you are going to pick a passenger's car, you should reserve the front seat until the car is full and no person with disability is there at the station.
Okay.
And also, even if it's a queue, a person with disability is not supposed to join.
Okay.
But it doesn't work. Anytime I'm going to work in the morning, I have to join a long queue. Who dares you to go and say, I know this is the policy, and you won't be allowed at all. It will be like so and sometimes they think, okay, so let's say Medina, how many people with disability will come and pick her in a day that we have to reserve? So eventually the policy collapses. And so I think it's the mentality of minority issues, like they are the
Right.
That's what I think.
Okay. Now, folks, we're running out of time, but what she said is essentially her ability to, move around, transportation, participation, and all of these things are important. So let me just quickly ask this, and if you can answer it as briefly as possible. So if you go into, let's say, ShopRite or a supermarket, okay, we pick our things off the shelf, right? And then we go and pay for them, right? How is that process for you?
I always go with an assistant.
You have to go with somebody.
Yes, so someone becomes my eye.
Okay.
So someone tells me, okay, this is soap, what do you want to, maybe I tell the person what I want to buy.
Okay.
But the disadvantage is that sometimes you go to the supermarket and you haven't planned to buy something, but the moment you see the thing, you would want to buy.
Okay.
So as a person with visual impairment, you go there and don't see things like this. Maybe you need them too.
Okay.
But because
You can't see them.
So yes, but I haven't seen any supermarket that has the braille on their shelf, like soap and those things. I think in abroad it's there, but in Ghana I haven't seen some yet.
All right.
We actually have a long way to go.
Okay.
Yes.
These are practical barriers, okay? Some of you may not call it stigmatization or discrimination, but if I'm setting up even a restaurant and I fail to take into consideration some of these needs, it is a form of discrimination, right? And this is what we're sharing here. Yes, Doc?
I mean, I think
what I wanted was inclusion.
Yeah, okay, let me go back to that. Let's go that inclusion. If we say inclusion, I mean from ordinary and English word, it is more or less just be part of. I mean, you should also be able to do what everybody else is doing. But here we go. It makes me go back to the classification of what do you call it, disabilities. And like I said last time, we have the physical, we have sensory, we have the intellectual, we have mental health conditions, we have the neurodevelopmental, and we even have chronic illnesses, and also learning disabilities and communication disabilities. All these forms of disabilities have different forms of needs that will help them to do what they need to do. And until we are able to bring all these people that I have mentioned, to be able to achieve their goals, to be able to also have the needed assistance to get to where they want to be. I'll talk about the opposite of what inclusion.
Exclusion.
That is exclusion. That is the word.
Okay.
So if you ask me what inclusion is, I'm rather talking about exclusion. So that is the inability to also be part of your community, your society, to achieve what you want to, should I say, your goal to achieve what
to
you
achieve
want
your
to
full
achieve.
potential.
That's right. So
Okay,
that is
Princess,
what
I can see.
Yeah,
You want to add something?
I want to add a little to what Doc
Yes.
has said. To me, when you say inclusion, it means that helping me, providing the necessary needs that would be tailored to my disability. To many people and to the world, when you say inclusion, they think it's about diversity, like being part, I'm here too. But the truth is that persons with disabilities, we do not just take diversity boxes. Let's say here, Joy FM, and I'm a worker, and I'm employed because of my disability. They just want the world to see that, oh, they are also practicing inclusion. And I come here and I'm not able to do anything. I just come here as a worker, just with the tag. I don't do anything. We close, I go home, and I get paid for it. And when they are making accounts for employees, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they add me and say we have one worker with disability among us, just to point to the world that they are practicing inclusion and diversity. I think that is not inclusion.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
But the important thing is that you're not, saying anything different from Doc. What you are cautioning against is cosmetic inclusion or tokenism, right?
Exactly.
Where I just want to say, this number of disabled persons are toll booths, okay? And therefore it means I'm doing something right, okay? There are toll booths. What has been put in place to facilitate their to and fro and their lives generally. This is in Kolebu, for example, we used to have some reservation for persons with disability, especially physical, to sit in the lifts and operate the lifts. All right, it's something that used to irritate me to high heaven, right? But they sit there in the lift with a stool and they take people up and down.
Yeah.
Okay, I insist that these persons have higher capacity than just pushing buttons in a lift or an elevator. Okay, and again, we can change and modify the buttons so that anybody can do that. Okay, but what we're looking at, like Princess is saying and Doc is also saying, is the full spectrum, right? That levels things. It is not preferential treatment if we say Princess should not queue at the Medina Trotro or taxi rank. Okay? We are not putting her above anybody. We are addressing a right.
Yes.
Okay? And people need to understand that. I've had cases where somebody is in regular school and I have to draw parents' attention to the fact that, do you know you can apply to the GES for them to take their examination under different circumstances? And they're like, oh really? I say, yes, your child falls into this category, okay, and therefore maybe might need a little more time to write the same exam and so on, and go check. And there are parents who have taken this opportunity, and there are some accommodations by way of examination and other things.
That's right.
But people are not accessing them. And sometimes even teachers are discouraging you, thinking that thinking that your child could benefit from some of these, we call them accommodations, right? In judiciary, we have courtroom accommodations. Sometimes courts can move from the court premises to another location to enable and build some of these bridges. Yes, Doc, you were coming in.
Yeah, I was coming in relation to what Princess was just saying, and I'm trying to come from the point of view, like let's say occupational therapists, for instance, see human beings as occupational beings, and it is a fact that at any point in time, irrespective of your age, a baby to old, people want to do something, and there is this gratification, all right, in achieving what or being able to do what you want to do. And if you are supported, assisted, or able to do this with age and profession and whatever, so that we don't put someone whose IQ is over there, and because of where the person finds him or herself.
Yeah.
Like you said, you put the person in a lift to just point what do you call it?
Push the button.
Push buttons.
Okay.
You know, this is what we do. We want people. That's why we talk about reach their highest potential.
Okay.
So this is what we're talking about, inclusion here, so
Okay.
that everybody will be able to do what they want to do, they love to do.
Okay.
We put things in places to bridge some of these gaps.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. We'll have to come back on some of these practical, should I say, case scenarios.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have to keep hammering on these things for
That's
people
right.
to understand
That's right.
that this is actually a challenge.
Yeah.
Even handedness, somebody being forced to use the other hand and so on and so forth, right?
Oh.
If you come to it, you see where there are challenges, right?
Yeah.
But many thanks to Doc, Inda, and Princess, we will have several more of these
We should.
opportunities
Yeah.
with several more, should I say, advocates to push these things forward, right?
Yes.
It's already 3 o'clock. We'll be crossing over for our Joy FM 9 Lessons and Carols, which is taking place at the Labadi Beach Hotel. Okay, so we've eaten into a bit of their time. Let me end on this, Princess. Okay, though we are not in disagreement. This is Psalm 139, 13 to 16. For you created my innermost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret, in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. Yes, there may be, should I say, disabilities, but our Creator had all that in mind, but we have layered several layers of man-made challenges, and on Ultimate Health we'll do our best to make sure we bring these to the fore, and we also join the advocacy march and make sure that changes take place. Thank you once again, my own Princess. A friend of mine feels I wasn't giving you GABA. And has said, Emilia, I hear you. Princess is my wife. Charlie, don't joke. And thank you very much, Dr. Inda. Stick and stay on Joy 99.7 FM. As I mentioned, we are having our 9 Lessons and Carols at the Labadi Beach Hotel. And I think it was by invitation, right? We have a lot of celebrities, important personalities reading the lessons, and it's going to be a jolly good time. It's still Christmas. By next week you'll see and smell and taste Christmas on Ultimate Health. Many thanks, my listeners. Stick and stay. Don't go away.
Joy 99.7 FM.